My name is Tom Holmes. My interests generally have been in the arts, and the cinema has been a very important part. I say the cinema, but especially movie posters, because the first movie posters were, go back 100 years. There have been quite a few changes in every way. The posters were the bait that was most often used to bring members of the public into the cinema. In the 1920s, that was the era of the talkies, and many of the posters were absolutely brilliant. We had bigger movies, and of course, Gone with the Wind 1939 would have been in that. 50s to me was brilliant. That was my decade, and I wouldn't have realized it at the time, but the studios were making a huge effort to deal with the advent of television. And I do remember the advertising. Can you imagine having Marilyn Monroe on your lap? Well, that was to introduce CinemaScope, because instead of the square screen, we now had a screen that was 2.5 times that. And what I remember so much, now, as I say, Dublin, the cinemas and the advertising and those posters, outside they had these massive posters. And so to me, that was that really colourful spots. You take the Savoy in Dublin, in O'Connell Street. That then was one cinema, absolutely huge, with the stars, moon and stars up there. So when the lights went down, you're in another world altogether. You could sit back and really let imagination go wild. The cinema and the dance hall were the only entertainment. Television hadn't arrived. And of course, television changed so much. When it came to the 20th century, there was a very high portion of illiteracy. And so posters had to be designed with bright colors, with good pictures, and a minimum of dialogue print. And so that was, and this is an example of what, this, by the way, now we're in 1940s now, but there were, Bing Crosby was very popular, but Maureen O'Hara, nobody here could be unaware of her. Yeah, certainly in film, she dominated the screen. She was quite beautiful. She said herself that she became known, tagged with the Queen of Technicolor. And the fact was, if any of the studios could get funding to do Technicolor, which was very expensive, get Maureen O'Hara, and it was sold. So even if it's a rubbish screenplay, put her in it, and it will sell. Oh yes, Gordon MacRae. These were all, they were quite wonderful, because Audrey Hepburn, she made her debut with Roman Holiday. No one had heard of her, and of course, one of the biggest names of the century, and that worked so well. My favourites, you have A Moonlight Bay and By the Light of the Silvery Moon, same cast, it's a family thing, but Doris Day on the up. Well, the big difference, I think, it's no longer felt necessary to make the most important thing the colours, the pictures, and it's quite okay to have long passages of script. It's a different type of poster altogether. Now, I've often been asked, do I have a favourite? And a very difficult thing to answer, because as with music or theatre or anything, I've got a lot of favourites. But I'm always fascinated by the poster of Dr. Zhivago, because I think it says so much. It's been cleverly designed. I think the marvellous thing, when you first look at this poster, you see a block here, and it's not just, you can maybe overlook it at first, right? But here we've got Laura as Julie Christie, Omar Sharif as Zhivago, and Geraldine Chaplin. So you have the three big stars. But not only that, look closer, and you've got passages from the huge, mammoth book in the first place, but magnificent, spectacular film. And down here too, we've got 4 different sets of pictures. And of course, together, it all becomes a balanced whole. It fascinates me. The posters are part, as you know, I said, the popular song Dublin in the rare old times. I remember the Metropole and the Capitol and the Theatre Royal and all these things, but they're buildings. What I remember most, you have the cinemas and the suburban cinemas in Dublin. They had huge posters, and they were aglow, not fluorescent lighting, but they were the points in Dublin. Daft now, as it may seem, but I was determined at one time to find every one of those cinemas. And I walked miles and miles and miles, and so the posters just meant something special to me.